Hi friends, I'm Mike Malcolm, and this is Tri-Spired Tuesday, the video series that helps us evangelize Tulsa and the whole world using the beautiful art and architecture of the cathedral. As I record today, we are getting ready to do a really wholesale roof project that will involve replacement of all the copper shingles on the roof. But that's not what we're here today to talk about. Today we're going to focus on the clocks. There are 4 clock faces atop the central tower that face all 4 directions. I've stood inside one of the clock faces. Now, I'm a pretty big guy, and there is no way that I could touch the 9 and the 3 at the same time. They're about 10 feet in diameter. Those are really big clock faces, but it wasn't always so. When the church was built in 1914, the church did not have the money to afford a clock that would go up there. So some parishioners simply made a big wooden clock face and just painted it white, and then affixed that to all 4 sides of the tower, and that's how things stood for the first decade. By 1925 or so, the parish's altar society had raised enough money to purchase a premium tower clock for the church. Manufactured by the Howard Clock Company, this was a beast of a clock. So imagine a grandfather clock with a pendulum and everything, all the gears. That all existed up in the tower with a 14-foot pendulum swinging from below, keeping time. Once a week, the maintenance man at the cathedral had to go up all the stairs and ladders to get up to the clock, and then he had to crank it to raise the weights that drove the pendulum for another week. Now, after a certain amount of time, he got tired of going up into the towers all the time. So they wired the clock mechanism for electricity. Now, at the time, I'm told the United States had 50 hertz electricity, which means that the electric wave goes 50 times per second. At some point in U.S. history, we changed to 60 hertz electricity. When that happened, that meant that our clocks ran 12 minutes fast every minute. Not ideal. So they put a transformer in front of the clock motor, slowed it back down to 50 cycles per second, and everything was great up until the clock mechanism really broke. It was the axles that went from the clock mechanism out to each clock face. Plus, the clock hands had been exposed to the weather for 80 or 90 years at this point, and they had just rusted and were difficult to turn. So in the 2008 to 2010 renovation, they replaced the clock hands with newly machined clock hands, and you could stand up there inside and spin the hands of the clock freely. They were that carefully balanced to where it was just easy to turn. And then there was an axle that connected all 4 of the clock faces to not the large clock mechanism, but to a small mechanism that's just basically a motor that's about the size of a basketball, and it has the 4 axles that go out, and those spin the clock hands. At some point recently, that has stopped working. So part of the roof project is going to be to go back up, determine what the problem is, and fix the clocks so that we can tell time just by looking up at Holy Family Cathedral. Thanks for watching Tri-Spired Tuesday. I'll see you next week.